Okay, so hello to all audience of Metal Zone radio show on Oxygène Radio. We are at the BARBEUK Metal Festival in a city called CHAMPTOCEAUX in France, Pays de la Loire in English in the text. And we've got a huge pleasure to be with a band coming from Mexico. And who is playing today. The band is called JET JAGUAR. We are with two members, Jim and George. So, hello, thank you for taking time to answer some questions. And how are things in your life at the moment?
Well, it's great right now. Actually, we're on tour, our second European tour, so it can be better.
Okay. And you say me just before that it is the last date of the tour?
Yeah, it lasted a month. Okay. It began on the 27th of July in Germany, in Headbangers Open Air. Okay. And now we're here.
Okay. Yeah. And that's fucking cool to be there at the BARBEUK Metal Festival. First of all, to begin with the unavoidable question, can you do a brief history of the genesis of the band?
Yeah, well, the main idea of forming the Jaguar was to play, like the old school new wave of traditional heavy metal, like Skullfist or Enforcer. Okay. When we were in our 17s or 16s, those kind of bands were they were in everywhere. You could hear them everywhere. So we really want to do something like that.
Okay. And you are. I believe the band's name is not accidental. Can you tell us more about this name of the band, JET JAGUAR?
Yeah, it's actually from the Godzilla universe. So there's this character named Jet Jaguar, and there was a video game that we used to play, and then there was this big guy called Jet Jaguar, and I know the guy looks cool, and it kind of sounds like a metal band name, so we liked it, and before that we were named Rollerblade, which I don't think it's that cool. But then we thought, Jet Jaguar, and then said it sounds like a heavy metal band,
Really?
Yeah.
I agree with that. Do Jet Jaguar members have any band experience prior to forming the band? And if it is so, does it influence your current sound and style in any way?
I don't think so. No. That the prior bands influence Jet Jaguar. For example, I started playing the drums when I was 8 years old, and so I have a prior experience. Also, George had another band.
Yeah, I did in high school when I was 15 years old, and from that band, Jim contacted me. But in Cancun, which is where Jet Jaguar was formed, Cancun, Mexico, you know that city for its beaches, and it's a very touristic place, but you don't know it too much for its heavy metal. But then again, there are a few metal bands there. And so when we were in school, 10, 11 years ago, everyone was in another band, and then those bands broke up. Okay. And then the remaining parts got together, and then we formed a new band, and we had from day one, we had this vision of creating our new songs and our own material. Okay. Yeah.
The band debut EP saw the light of the day as early in 2016. It took you 4 long years to follow up the EP with a full-length album called Endless Nights, released in 2020. Why did it take so long?
Well, first of all, we were touring. We were touring, and
that's a good excuse.
Yeah, we had our first European tour was in summer of the 2017, and then we toured 1 month in Europe, and I think 2 or 3 months in Mexico. Okay. We played in almost the whole country. Yeah. And then we go to Belize, and we go to Costa Rica. Okay. So then after the tour ended, we wanted to release a new album, but also we don't have a lot of money, and we have this vision, if we're going to do something, we want to do it great,
Okay.
almost perfect.
Quality.
So yeah, of course. So also the money was a problem.
Problem.
Yeah, but we did it.
Okay. The main thing is you release your first album. So check it out. This is called Endless Nights. One similarity between the EP and the first album is that both are bilingual with songs in English and in Spanish. What the reason for that? Was it something evident for you?
Well, ever since the EP Zero Hour, which was released in 2016, we included one song in Spanish, which is called Rompiendo el Acero, Breaking the Steel. So we kind of agreed that in every release of the band, we wanted to maybe include one or two songs in our mother language, which is Spanish. So that would be the reason why. And in Endless Nights, you can find a couple songs in Spanish also. Yeah.
Okay, something natural.
Yeah.
Natural. Okay, both language. The process of making the album included collaboration with the producer Tonio Ruiz. That's right. While mix and mastering was delivered by Enric Hood, who worked with Amorphol, Powerwolf, and many more. Why did you decide to work with them, and do you find the effects of your collaborative efforts satisfying? Are you satisfied of this collaboration with the both?
Yeah, of course. Toño Ruiz, he's a legend in Mexico. He shreds the guitar like no other. So we wanted to work with him, just because he's a legend, and also because he's a really good producer. And if you hear the album, you pay attention. you can see that there are songs that are heavier than others. So that's why we choose to work with different producers. So the heavier stuff was with Henry Coot. You can see the bands. So that's the main reason. Yeah.
Okay. That's clear. As you know, as we all know, the world crossed a difficult period with the COVID and lockdown for almost 2 years, the war in Ukraine in 2020. How does it impact the band and your life in general? And was it more difficult for you to tour because of the cost explosion?
Oh, well, yeah, obviously, I mean, for COVID, there was something that impacted the world in a worldwide. So it was hard because our debut album, Endless Nights, also came out in 2020. We had just signed the contract for releasing the album in February of 2020, and in March when the whole COVID thing exploded. So we barely managed to sign that contract, but it had to come out during the pandemic, like at its very highlight, at its peak in July 2020 when we released the album. So definitely, it impacted the band in a very hard way, I would say, because we were, in 2017 we played at Wacken Open Air and we won that. We went there because we were participating in the metal battle competition, and we actually won, which was great. And then the next year we toured throughout Mexico and a lot of festivals going on there. 2019 we were preparing the album and all of that, and 2020 was the year that we were expecting everything to explode pretty much. And then we got that hit hard by the pandemic. So it was a big hit for the band, but also I think that now 3 years later we're having our second European tour. We've been playing at a couple more festivals other than BARBEUK, and we've been touring throughout Europe. And I mean, even if it's summer, it's not like the best season, the best season to tour here. We have had a great reception, so we're happy for that.
Everything is getting better and better, and that's cool. You signed on a German label, Pride and Joy Music. How did you get in contact with them, and did you have many offers for the release of this album?
Well, what we did is that we search online, metal labels in metal archives, Metalum, and we send emails to every label until, for example, Pride and Joy they answer, and
We could be interested.
and that's how we get in contact with them and we sign the agreement.
Okay, that's cool. That's a good label. We know them a little bit. So, did you have new songs ready for the second album, and when can we expect its release?
Yeah, definitely. We were just talking about that, and we already recorded most of the second album.
Okay.
We hope to release it next year, somewhere around summer, maybe. Hopefully a little bit earlier than that.
Okay.
But yeah, we really want to come back next year here to Europe, which we think is like. If you're playing metal, it doesn't make sense to be outside of Europe. Here you have like very strong countries in that subgenre, like Germany, obviously France, Spain, Sweden, Finland. Yeah, so we're planning to like all of the Jaguar to be around here because that's what makes sense, to be honest. And we are hoping to release that album maybe next year.
So next year, well, a little bit. Always on Pride and Joy music?
Yeah. I mean, we're still in contact with those guys. We'll see what works best for us also. But it's a possibility.
Okay, so well, a little bit next year, the second album of JET Jaguar. What do you do? Yeah, what do you like to do? Sorry, next to the music, because I suppose you don't make a living of the band.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, although music, it's like our main environment, and it takes for me like my whole day.
Okay.
I actually have like a store where I sell toys.
Okay.
Yeah, and shirts and board games.
Okay.
Yeah, of for geeks.
Yeah.
Marvel, DC, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my other job.
Okay. And for you?
Well, I'm currently working as a translator,
Okay.
English to Spanish.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing besides heavy metal.
Okay.
But I mean, I also like doing other stuff like going on a hike. Maybe I actually love CHAMPTOCEAUX because of that. I hiked like all the week.
Cool. If you looking back at your childhood when you were young, a little bit young, in which musical environment did you grow up? Was there music at home? Did your parents maybe and your brother, sister, I don't know, play music, etc.?
Well, my first contact, I think, with music was in the car with my father, listening to Abbey Road by the Beatles. He had like a lot of records from them, and they're actually my favorite band. And that was like my earliest memories. So I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I already got those songs stuck in my head. So I mean, that was like the genesis of my musical environment, and from there I got this video game called Guitar Hero, maybe when I was like 12 years old. And that also like expanded my musical environment to bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica, and then from there, I mean,
Classics.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And do you remember? I will ask also to you too. Do you remember the first show, the first hard rock metal show you've got to see live?
the first metal show. Yeah, my first show was Aerosmith. Yeah, I was like 13 years old, also with my father. He took me to the capital city of Mexico, Mexico City, and we got to see Aerosmith live, and it was such a great memory. And from there, it was back in open air when we played. So yeah, that's how it worked.
Your father is very cool guy. I'm sure. I'm sure of that. And for you?
Well, it's the same.
Yeah.
My father, he taught me metal when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, Metallica, Megadeth, all those kind of bands. And my first concert, it was also with my dad. It was Metallica in Mexico City. Also, actually, there is a live video of that show. It's
you were at that show?
yeah,
On,
Orgullo.
on the live sheet?
Yeah, or no,
No.
it's called no live shit. I was not even born,
Okay.
but
Sorry.
yeah, it's Orgullo, Pasión y Gloria. That's yeah,
yeah. I remember this one.
2009.
Yeah,
2009.
Yeah, I remember this one.
yeah. That was my first concert.
Your first concert.
Yeah.
Okay. So first concert Metallica. That's fucking cool.
It's all downhill from there.
Can you tell us more about the metal hard rock scene in Mexico? Is it? I know there is a lot of bands, of course, but is it easy to play? Is there places, promoters, etc.?
Well, yes, they are, but they are obviously very much underground. I think in Mexico there are a lot of metalheads in general.
Yes.
I mean, when Metallica goes to Mexico, they sold out like 3-4 nights with no problem. Iron Maiden plays huge stadiums too. But I think that in general for local bands in Mexico, it's hard to get through. I don't think that most people, like local people, appreciate enough like local bands. Like here in Europe, we have had the experience that even in festivals, when a band is playing like at noon or 1 p.m., there are the people is there to hear, and they are open to that. But in Mexico, it's hard for the people sometimes to do that. But I mean, they expect the international bands to go. So if you're an international band, definitely go to Mexico because they're gonna love you.
But support the local scene too. It's important.
Exactly. It's exactly.
And JET Jaguar is a good example. So, what are the future plans for the band? You were talking about your focus on the next album.
Yeah, after this tour ends, we're gonna put our minds and our efforts to the next album, and hopefully we'll be back in Europe maybe in September. I don't know. We don't know, but that's like our wish.
Yeah. Okay, so to conclude this interview at the BARBEUK Metal Festival, did you have something to add? We're in France, of course, for your French fans. And the word of the end.
Well, to the BARBEUK Metal Festival and to Seb, thanks for the invitation. This is our first time playing in France, so we're really excited and looking forward to that. And to you, thank you a lot for the support and for the time. And we wish to be back in France next year. Why not?
Cool.
Thank you very much for all the people that is watching this to Oxygène Radio. Mon ami, thank you.
Okay, thank you to Jim and Jorge from JET Jaguar, first time in France. We wish you a lot of good things, of course, for the band, for you, for your family. Take care of you. Don't forget to laugh. It's important. Drink some beers or wine. We're in France. And we wish you a lot of good things. Don't forget also to go on the social networks of the band, Facebook, maybe Instagram, etc., etc. Don't forget to see the band live, to buy the album, to buy the merchandising. It's important nowadays for the bands. So thank you to you. It was a pleasure to meet you, to talk to you, and wish you a good shows for tonight at the BARBEUK Metal Festival. Yeah. Bye.